The Galactic Federation of Life has pretty much now ended the long period of galactic warring that involved several universes. Peace is at hand in the galaxy now, and a nicer future is portended for the younger universes. So be not so upset at this minuscule delay, beloveds, for it is but the death throes of the dark in action, and it is controlled. I know that many light workers are not happy with delays, because they see the suffering that continues. But in the larger picture the suffering is shortened, for the plan has been taken globally and the global darkness is caving in upon itself, the karma resolving greatly. Karma is not understood on this planet, but I am not going to go into that today. Rather I should go into the coming joys, and the coming tribulations. We do not prevent the magnetics of the planet from its functions. The plates are moving because of the upward move of the vibrations of the planet. This is for the good, a natural process of physics. We can't prevent what will happen on the coastal regions of the Ring of Fire, my friends. The planet must make the adjustments. This is a return to normality. It is a return to the planet's tilt being straight up and down. When this final change in the tilt is complete, you will have the same seasons year around. This is part of the unity concept. The more out of whack a planet is, the more tilt, the more seasonal change. I predict you will have the tilt fully corrected in about 8 more years, and the seasonal changes will stop, and so will the Earth quieten a bit more also. This will occur quite some time before you enter the 5th dimension, and will assist the process. You will have more area to farm and thus grow your food. Crop production can go on constantly. You know you are under-sophisticated in your knowledge of non-polluting energies. The planet must cleanse this, in order to survive. This is not the angry God, this is nature. We have prevented the planet from fully cleansing during this period of your growing up. The planet was egg-shaped, an abnormality from war activities of long ago. The rising vibrations and the work of some in specialized fields are restoring the perfectly round shape that occurs from the even pressure of cold space on the planet. This is gravity, which is a push, not a pull. All of this is essential to going into the 5th dimension, a part of the process. It is a good thing, but the resolutions are not going to feel so good to many. There can't be a lift-off described by some yet. There is not enough places to place this huge population. Not only in physical bodies, which your physical body we change to a new type, but also in those that have not yet incarnated. We have moved many to the new planet in spirit and they await bodies. We have moved some to start the process and will be moving more there, which they will be giving a new type of body, commencing shortly with the earth changes. Those going in new bodies will have clean uncontaminated DNA, and be of reasonable purity. We are not transporting the criminal element to the new planet. Nor can the new planet handle billions of people all of a sudden on it. Its living population of humans will initially be restricted to about 200 million. It is pristine, it will have a lot of assistance in technology to bring it up quickly, but understand that we can't move billions there to live caveman style for a time, as the billions of Earth don't have a clue about survival. There are no ready-made houses and apartments. Civilization starts from scratch there, but will progress rapidly. Population growth must occur naturally, and waiting citizens in the spirit world must await their chance to incarnate. There will be a new set of stars above, a new heaven, this is on the new earth. Your interior worlds can't handle the surface population either. When Michael, who is called Murdoch Enyanan, returned in 1945, the planet had about 2.5 billion people and now there are 7 billion. Plans were in place at that time for evacuation should it be necessary. But many would have been left behind, to likely perish. The children of the Anunnaki who had developed would be lifted first, followed by the children who were too young to make decisions and be held responsible. We had arranged for many Pleiadian and Orion planets to accept some of you, as the new planet was very immature at that time. The new planet is ready, but still it is being populated also with animals necessary to live there. Our children will be placed in about 5 communities to start a new place. More can be transferred possibly in the future, there is much assistance. Most of the robotic population will physically perish in the upcoming upheavals. But we have created a special place for them in the heavens, even though many, in fact most, will not obtain thought adjusters. They must not be lost to the possibility of eternal existence. Some, in the turmoil, may actually receive adjusters if they go into will behavior that they might not have otherwise obtained. Chaos does produce growth in many. And the point is growth, in all of this. This is a planet that is stimulating by its nature of being a seed planet. Life must be stimulated to seek survival. In the story of the first two humans, they were guided north, into harsher conditions, so that they would continue the journey into problem solving. Many apes and monkeys have been rather stationary in their evolutionary growth, because they see no point in growing. They are so very comfortable where they are, eating plants and having a good social time, but not solving larger problems. Mankind is the same. Keep in mind there is a difference between man and mankind. Mankind is a kind of man. The mind grows by solving problems, and that includes every entity within the entire creation. I am where I am at this point from my own experiences in the journey of serving my grandfather who is the Anu. I have stated I am about 23 trillion years old since my creation. I am fairly young at this time, and have grown rather fast as the term goes because of my personal desires to handle great change and learn from it. My own journey is behind my selection, my resume, that I offered Yanan, to be part of this grand journey of getting the dark removed from Earth, my most challenging journey, this magisterial mission, which has been much more than the usual magisterial mission, of which I have had several such now. The correcting time creates quite a different experience. Much of the population reduction will occur over the next 5 years. Mankind has brought much of this upon himself, for the lack of awareness of the larger picture. Man will suffer this, because he has moved to the coasts, and built his houses on the sand. He will suffer this, because he has lost basic survival skills. He will suffer this because he placed his well-being in the hands of corrupt social institutions. He will suffer this because of the depleted oil used for almost the sole energy resource on the planet and because of the use of the planet's trees and coal also. He will suffer this because he paid no attention. The dark will suffer this because they so misled man below them, and they will suffer in many cases with the loss of their identity, uncreation and the return to being souls. But man below could have stood up a bit more, before it became too late. Some of the folks, in the coming cataclysm in California and the entire Pacific Rim, can be helped into the underground shelters built by the dark for their escape during these times. But these are not sufficient. There will be many who are known to be of criminal elements that would not be lifted or moved into them. We shall do some lifting, of some individuals. The interior United States can't handle the fullness of this coming cataclysm. You can only do what you can do, beloveds, so do what you can do and have the experience of it all for your learning. Russia can handle the entirety of its population underground for an extended period of time. They planned this. The United States and just about everywhere else on the planet did not. In the end times, beloveds, Russia, seen as the evil one, in fact saved the day for the planet once they removed Putin. Granted, there has been evil there, but that evil stood up and said no to the New World Order, folks. And that country shall do fairly well in the upheavals to come, because they have prepared for it. Remember Edgar Cayce's statement that in Russia lies the hope of the world, Milson. But even they will see the depopulation that will occur simply from the fact that only those of high vibration can survive the photon belt effects. The photon belt effect is the sun getting hotter. It is the photon belt that will cause the largest cleansing of the planet. After the coming event, it is estimated, with the cleansing that will occur then, plus the dark beings who are not going to awaken from their sleep in rather large numbers, the planet will be around 4.7 in vibration, meaning also most in the fifth dimension, and many can't survive this. It is simply a fact of physics that is not understood. Your animals will do well. The animals exist as a higher vibration already, and the photon belt will enhance them. In fact, as well as the plant life upon the planet. Now an interesting topic. In one of my works with the Earth groups, I suggested that some of you would be helped to survive that you might serve. About 1 million of you are currently undergoing de-aging while you sleep at night. This can take anywhere from a few months to 4 years depending on your health and age at the time. Some of you will simply not age further, if you are in your 30s. Some on the planet are attempting to place commercial de-aging chambers on the planet, but these will not be successful in these times of the photon belt. Those that will experience de-aging have made the choice at a higher level to continue to serve through these challenging times to come, and your mission statement, even if you are not aware of this process yet, has been accepted. You are also having your immune systems upgraded, to prevent you from getting ill with the assorted illnesses that occur during times of upheaval. You have been made immune in one way or the other to the dark side's creations. You are made immune to the damaging radiation of the photon belt. You will survive, grandly, so put away your personal worries. If you live on a coast that can be involved, it is highly suggested you move away and fairly quickly. Your guardian angels can keep you alive and safe in smaller circumstances, but not in a tidal wave. Move. If you do not trust this, then you will be in trouble down the road. There are a large number of star workers who will not have this de-aging and related benefits. This is simply because of their souls' contracts to return home during this time, the reward for a job well done. This is a personal choice, and many of these will stay in dangerous areas to assist those that can be helped and be on their way when the time comes. These do not fear death, it is their release. Some of you, who are being de-aged, have made the choice at a higher level to stay for centuries, and so this shall happen. Some of you have light bodies in storage, and will be contacted by your assorted star guardians when appropriate, and you can vacate your earth body and move back into your light body. There are Graudians who will be prepared to keep your citizenship wherever you reside, despite the physical change of body. A number of you who have severely damaged bodies are being cloned, in a good way, and will move into a new body, which looks like you, but will have some enhanced mental capabilities where needed. You will be more psychic, in other words. Some of you are advanced, but you do not have light bodies in storage. Or in a number of cases, your future plans are such that you need to keep your same appearance, and moving back into your light body is not appropriate at this time. There are many 5D beings incarnating now, and they are choosing incarnations into areas of less threat. And these are bringing, as usual, much higher DNA with them, to continue to upgrade the DNA on the planet, which suffered the default of the Atom Project mission to the planet. Now a rather difficult topic for most of you. The dark DNA that came into the planet long ago, created by dark scientists, is going to be completely cleansed from the planet. This will take a longer time than 3 years, but it must happen. Some of you incarnate do this quite naturally, healing the defects of karma and the dark geneticists. For many of you, that has been your major purpose to the planet. You have heard many stories of babies that have healed without the need for heart surgery, for example. You are cleansing the DNA by your presence within it. The entire robotic DNA will be cleansed from the planet. Much of this will happen as the natural result of death in the calamities and the work of the photon belt. Much has been improved also by the teams here in ships that have been making the robotic DNA inhabitable by you, with some of your own DNA. So if you are living already in an upgraded body, then you shall have no problems. You could not incarnate into the robotic DNA in the first place. But the dark created this disconnected from source DNA as an antichrist activity, to help prevent the retaking of this planet. The planet has been retaken despite this. Only 50 years ago 60% of people on the planet were robotics. Now it is 50%, even under great growth in population, because of modifications being made during the incarnation process. But the dark side creation of the robotic has been the major issue in the attempt to keep the planet for themselves. Robotics don't solve problems well, they don't perceive emotion. They don't have a clue that they should keep their numbers in a balanced range. So the dark types fought their war in this way. But the dark side's attempts to do away with the extra population was more directed at you, many diseases custom made to harm the light workers. And many of you have been helped in this. They also put forth the stories of abduction that were not true. True, to bring in improved DNA in a sneaky way, most of you had your eggs manipulated that became your bodies over and over again, in your incarnations. But this is not abduction, this was by choice, and remains by choice. The dark side has done most of the so-called cattle mutilations to create panic and fear. Those in genetics specialty assisting the planet have taken some animal samples for study, mostly to determine how the animals can be assisted to be transported to the new planet, which types will survive in the atmospheric conditions there and be of service to mankind in that place. This new planet is not a fully evolutionary planet, but rather a more customized planet. It was seeded with plant life, but has not yet been seeded for animal life, so animals must be taken there. It is being put into service, having been given its life charter recently, early, because of the conditions on this planet. Over the next 20 years, many survivors of the upheavals will be given the choice of moving in new bodies to this planet to further its population as it become able to handle it. Both the new planet and its coming peoples must adapt to this. After the initial 200 million place there adapt and prepare the way, then more can come. We do not desire to transport billions to the new planet to simply watch them perish for lack of survival skills, and depression. To do this would throw the planet's magnetics out of balance, and start the tilt that produces the seasonal changes reflective of negativity. That will not be risked. I am detailing much of this, because you who read this need to take this information and use it to more effectively plan your missions. I would not plan a big mission along the western coast of the USA at this time, for example. You need to plan your missions around the idea that you will be dealing with a lot of death. As I said, many will pass simply because of the changing vibratory level of the planet. Some areas will be harder hit than others with disease and economic problems. It is sad to see this all come about, but so it has, and could not be intervened with prior to this time. This is a special planet in special circumstances, and the planet shall have its salvation as the most important seed planet. The purpose of which is to cause the creation of new souls and life types that can be carried elsewhere to assist the seeding of planets not fully evolutionary. There are many ways of doing things. While you journey here, these are your lessons. You will learn just what a seed planet is, and how it must be maintained. You will have seed planets under your control at some point in your distant journeys. You will, in your future journeys, face trying times and you will be making tough decisions. You have chosen this experience, and you will survive it, if being a creator being in a future creation is your goal. That is why many of you are here. Others of you are helping out, and furthering your education with different goals in mind. Your eternal journey belongs to each of you alone and nobody else. Use this little missive as a guide to your game plan to come. The magisterial mission courts are almost in full swing. We are dealing first with the most needed to be dealt with, obviously, and my tasks at hand just increased this past weekend, as the game plan is getting amended. There is going to be a lot of education, and few surprises shortly. We will be honest about what is going on. Many will not like it. But facts are facts, and Mother Earth can't handle the poison much longer. We must get the energy changes going also, that will work in both bipolar and monopolar situations, which use zero-point energy. There are some energy changes coming that use magnets, but these are bipolar, and will have to be remodeled at a later date. Remember, I said your magnets will change when you go into the fifth dimension. I don't know the ultimate population of the planet, nor how long the adjustments in it will fully take. Much of that is up to you. You must become caretakers of the planet and bring about these changes. You will have great assistance. Most your star visitors are generous and loving, and will give the technology needed, but they will not do it all for you. You must do the planning and ask for the help. It will not be forced. This is your training ground, use it well. The planet will have its population reduced by at least 1/3, and quite likely 2/3, depending on how the changes go and how they are reacted to. The population could be maintained at up to 2 billion on the surface and below it, if the planning is very careful about preserving the wild areas and trees, and concentrating people together in groups and communities using newer technologies. Some of the calamities will come simply from oil, coal, and natural gas becoming scarce during the changing times. Earthquakes are going to upset this process a lot. Shipping changes are going to happen. In the USA you need to look at the fact that much of your goods now come from China, via Costco and other companies, and the ports on the West Coast are going to shortly be non-existent. You must get back to manufacturing your needs at home, because China needs to supply itself with its own technology, and you need to make your own technology. This type of global sales is not sustainable at all. You are going to have to get local again. The goal of getting off money will be enhanced by getting back to community production of food and items needed. This is the big reset. You will for a time learn to live in smaller houses, because some are going to migrate before the changes inland. Housing will also be freed up inland, because of the photon belt effects to a degree. You need to save the technology, so you have some when China is not able to ship to you. You all need to go over the use of energy that is taken from the mother and used in every sort of wasteful way. This would be a good discussion topic on various forums. I suggest a lot of discussion. There can't be massive lifts, as covered in this long piece. The interior of the USA can't handle 30 million people all at once from the western coast, and you can't even evacuate the western coasts in a year, if you have a year. California will experience a superquake and many small quakes before the event that could well topple LA into the ocean. It is time to get serious about what is coming. The population has grown so much in 60 years as to have made previous ideas not workable anymore. It is out of control and not fixable by any means, other than the natural cleansing that will come. Many organizations will probably go into disarray and fail. Look what happened even in your New Orleans situation. The government can't be remade overnight to handle these effectively. The poor peoples in Pakistan that was hit are still very underserved by the world community. It is time to pay for the mistakes made. It is a sad thing that the dark side has convinced those who go to church to expect rapture away to heaven. In doing so, they have disabled the survival skills of these people. They have disabled the desire to correct the problems, because so many feel they will be in heaven and don't have to face their errors. Their trip to heaven guaranteed by their belonging to the right church or the right religion, whatever it is they belong to. So they will experience the learning of this folly too. I am deeply saddened at the time, and I still am for the changes that must be made. I maybe should have just moved forward sooner, because so many have suffered in this waiting. But I love my creations, and I held out until what finally became the final moment for their return to the Most High. The powerful of the dark, when they make the change to the light, are very knowledgeable, and these could have assisted moving the changes forward very quickly. But it was not to be apparently, and it is time to throw in the rag. How is it for you, if you have a wayward child? Do you grieve of this situation? I do, beloveds. I am your brother after all. Remember the parable in the Bible of the prodigal son, who came back to the father and was forgiven. I waited and I waited to forgive. But we must finally move on, and it is time that we do so. I have felt your pain of the wait for too long now, your deprivation. I have felt the pain of those in places such as Africa as they suffered. But, beloveds, in the cleansing there is suffering, in the point of view of some. Many at their higher levels know what is behind all of this. And there were those that had to feel the results through their karma of their doings in the past, and this appears as suffering to you. Many often say they are tired of the karma stuff, the suffering by whatever cause, and this is certainly a most valid opinion and objection. But this karma, the suffering is in the astral body, it is an act of nature and physics. You build your light body when you substitute the electrons in your astral body for photons. This is each individual's course, and often what appears to be a suffering is instead great growth and photons put in place. Once you graduate from this planet's plane, and most others operating in a similar manner of duality, you are all photons, beloved. And that point of when you become all photons, and no longer have an astral form, is when your journey is truly at its beginning, in moving into the greater knowledge of making creation work. I Sandalphon am a person, who has graduated from this planet's plane. There are quite a number of you who are unaware yet that you are Sanandas, you are Christs. There are many of you who are in between the state of the Sandalphon and the state of the Ascended Master. An Ascended Master has fused with the Thought Adjuster. And some of you are going to fuse with your Thought Adjuster soon, or may have recently. There are many masters at various levels of development on the earth plane. Many masters are in those regions where there is much suffering, and although they may appear to suffer, they do not, but rather aid others in that predicament. They show another way and thus lend a hand to those who need to reach a bit more for the stars. The evolutionary journey of your soul is never an easy one. That is because there is free will, and imperfection in those making the climb. All teach to those below them on the rung of life. Life is truly a ladder, and even so it is for me also. Every universe presents its challenges, to every entity that plans a role in it. Some of you may seem to suffer, but you then understand suffering personally and thus recognize it and can sympathize with it. And my journey upon your place 63 billion years ago, I have been here 9 times, on my 7th time here, I experienced a great deal of the rawness of life on planet Earth, and yet I loved mankind deeply here. That is why I am back, the direct result of my personal sufferings at the time, for we must do away with the degree of suffering that has happened. It is not necessary to suffer to this degree. But without some chaos, life does not grow. You souls are not made free of the experience of the evolutionary survival, especially on a seed planet, which presents more challenges to life than do planets that are not seed planets. The travel into light and life does take longer on a seed planet, but the experience of an evolutionary seed planet provides that which is so needed to every universe. This is our precious seed planet, beloveds, love it well, it so needs it. It has served beyond its requirements as a seed planet, in serving also as a prison facility for the darkness that arose in Orion, that was in great excess of the normal darkness experienced in past creations. You have served long and well. Rise and continue this journey, I ask of you, so that you may well be those very experienced creators to come, who had been there and done that, and know of what you speak. Blessings to you for this, for because of the suffering on glorious Urantia, my dear beloved Gaia, so shall this darkness never appear again. Think on that. For you shall know it before it rears its ugly head, and you will have the strength to do something about it. The reason it got so far in Orion was the lack of experience. Simply that. Nothing more. Now there is experience and you have assisted in making known, this unknown. It is now known. Peace be upon you all, and in future creations for this journey. I am deeply indebted to all of you who have joined with me to rid not only Earth, but also the entire galaxy, of this mess. The journey is nearly done, it most truly is. Be patient for but a very short time more, as we remove the recalcitrant from the way. And then you shall grow into that which you already are. There is much good to be accomplished in this world and I will be assigned to help in many ways to bring about peace, especially in the Mideast. Obviously, the major nation that must change and be a noble instrument for peace in the world is your country, the United States of America. That will soon come about. The resignation of your present administration, your president, etc., will soon be declared.